Hey everyone, this is Kelly. I'm here with another at-home edition of Ask a Therapist. And today we are going to cover ways to get the most out of your online therapy communication. Most of us are seeing all of our clients through your telecommunication right now, and it has been varying degrees of difficult or easy depending on who you are and depending on who your therapist is and also depending on how your internet connection is, really. I want to give you some ideas on ways that you can get the most out of your time video conferencing with your therapist. And for those of you who are not sure how this works, maybe give you a little bit of familiarity with the situation so that it is something that you can take advantage of. Here we go. Number one, we're going to talk about ATTIRE. If you wouldn't do it in a therapist's office, I would suggest that you don't do it with your online therapy session. For instance, wear a shirt. You'd think I wouldn't have to say it. If somebody were to come into my office without a shirt on, I would ask some questions, right? And I would also ask some questions if we tried to have a counseling session in the same way. The things that we talk about are no less serious, and the ways that we present ourselves are no less important when it comes to therapy online. I would encourage you to dress like you would dress if you were going to a session. I have clients that come in yoga pants and flip-flops and a hoodie. Okay, cool. So that's fine. But I don't know that many of us have ever had clients show up to a client session in a towel. So don't when you're online. Number two, where do you do that? That's kind of important. So I'm going to give you some real life examples. Ready? That's a very different look, right? Here's an even different one. Can you understand anything that's happening right now? Or are you highly distracted by the things that are zooming past you? It's really a good idea to be as steady as possible, not walking around doing a bunch of things while you're trying to have your counseling session. Because if that's distracting to you, think about how distracting it might be to your therapist. Along the lines of avoiding distractions, I would encourage you to not have your dogs barking in the background, or maybe if a neighbor comes to the door, you don't have to answer it right then. Look, the basis of this is you're going to get out of it what you put into it, okay? And so if you're doing 4 other things while you're doing your therapy session, that does say something about how seriously you're taking your time. Therapy is your time. It's one thing to be folding your clothes or doing your laundry when you're talking to a friend on the phone, right? And right now, it's a little bit hard because you're FaceTiming with friends. And so when you FaceTime with your therapist, it feels similar. Because the way you're communicating with your therapist is the same as the way you're communicating with your friends, it is very easy to get that mixed up. Okay. But your time with your therapist, first of all, you're paying for it. So it's important that you're present. But secondly, it's time for you. It's something that you're doing for you. And if you can find somewhere, even if it means sitting on the bathroom floor with the door closed for a little while, so you can have a one-on-one conversation with someone who is there to support you and to help you through the situation that you're in, that is much more valuable to you. That's going to be more helpful to you if you are able to get yourself alone in some way. Now, please hear what I'm saying. If you are a parent who is home with your kids and the only way you can do therapy is if you do it while you're watching your kids, then have that conversation with your therapist. If it's not okay with your therapist, they will help you find somebody for whom that is fine. Check out your camera angle. It's very difficult as a therapist to talk to a client when all I get is this, because of where their phone or their camera is. I can't see their facial expressions. Maybe they're not really paying attention. Who knows? It's very hard to have our working relationship work that way when it's very difficult to interact with them. Now, some of you may do teletherapy through the phone because that's the only way you can do it. And that's a different story. Obviously, that visual situation is really just for video and not for phone communication. When doing online therapy, it's very important to be clear with your therapist about their expectations from you during that time. Do they expect that you aren't doing anything else? Do they expect that you are in private? It's your information. And so if you are not in private, that is a different situation than if we are not in private. It is not ever appropriate for a therapist to conduct a therapy session where there are other people who are overhearing and other people who are, in the shot if you're on video. That's not appropriate. For you, you're the one determining your time. And my encouragement to you would be that you make that time about you. It is so hard to find time that is just ours, right? It is so hard sometimes to find time where we can just work on us and have that space and that allowance from the other responsibilities in our world. And I would encourage you to really treat this time, even by video, as yours, as a sacred space for just you and your therapist to work through what's going on. Giving yourself that, making that time a priority, whatever that looks like for you is what it looks like for you, okay? Now, I will say from my perspective, I have a fairly relational style of therapy, right? So for me, if I'm on video with a client and they've got their cat in their lap and they're walking across the screen or something, okay, that's fine. If we're on a video call together and the person I'm speaking with is never actually looking at the camera or talking to other people constantly while we're there, letting the dogs out 4 different times, letting the cat in, doing dishes, folding laundry, it makes it very difficult for me to be present with them because I don't feel like they're necessarily present in that either. And in those situations, and those things come up, y'all, that's just how it happens when your whole family has to be home under one roof all of the time. Those things are going to happen, okay? Doing your best to give yourself the space and doing your best to inform your practitioner if you can't get yourself the space are my 2 biggest recommendations, especially right now as we are all doing our best when it comes to trying to serve our clients and give our clients what they need and what they deserve from us. So that is part of it. The other part that I want to talk about is if you've never tried online therapy and you kind of feel odd about it, because what can you really get from talking to somebody over a screen? You need to be in person with them. You need to feel their energy, that sort of thing. I get that. I used to feel that way too. Then I started doing these videos. I started doing other videos with other people, different YouTube channels, and I discovered that you really can feel someone's energy through a screen. This is a time where people need this service maybe more than ever before, okay? Right now, there are so many uncertain things in our world and in our lives, and it's okay to be a little churned up about it. It's also okay to be a little churned up about the idea of trying to meet with someone online over video when you've never met them in person before. But I think if you're watching this, you're getting a pretty good impression of who I am, and that's just on video too, right? A lot of our lives right now have to be through a screen. And that's hard. That can be really difficult. For those of you who have never really considered video therapy, let me say something to you also. Right now, we're all doing our level best to get through this, right? Sometimes our level best feels very confusing, and sometimes we got to go with what we have. And it's not possible right now to meet with most of my clients in person, and that grieves me on some level because there is that interaction, that human connection that you don't get through video. That's a true statement. Human connection is so important, and I hope that in therapy, that is something that people are understanding, and that is something that people are growing to accept more as we have to do more things through screens right now, is that human connection is so vital to our own well-being. That said, being stuck in your home in close proximity to people who you may love absolutely dearly when you have space from them, love might feel a little different right now. Family closeness hits a little different during a pandemic. It's okay to need a place to process things that's outside of your family. That's okay. I'd love if you would just try out video therapy. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. We're here to help you. We want you to get the most out of your sessions with us. Whatever the other side of this looks like, we want to be in that together. And the best way that we can do that is to help everybody that we can now in the best way that we can. So there's that information. If you go on our website, elbowtreeflorida.com, there are tons of resources. There's blogs, there's information about each of our therapists. Y'all, we just want to help. We just want to help. And if there's a way that we can help you, please interact with us. Please let us know so that we can be the best support possible for you and your families during this time. So on the other side of this, whatever it looks like, we're in it together. Thank you so much for your time. I hope that this made you chuckle a little bit. And if not, sorry about that, but there it is. Have a great day.